Hello, welcome back to the Analogue Wonderland channel. My name is Paul Mackay and I'm here today to talk to you about a low ISO blue toned colour film from FPP Blue Ultra. Whether you are new to film photography or a long-time analogue enthusiast, our channel covers all things film, from tips and tricks, film reviews to how-to videos. Subscribe now and keep those notifications turned on so that you never miss a beat. Happy shooting! So last week I talked a little bit about the film photography project, FPP, and gave a bit of a background. So if you fancy hearing a little snippet about it, then head over to the Mummy review. So I said in the introduction that it is low ISO. How low is low? ISO 3. Now that is worth a bit of a pause and a conversation straight away. So a couple of things. First of all, please don't put this film in a point and shoot. It's highly unlikely to give you any kind of usable images. It needs a lot of light. So please use a manual SLR. It's unlikely that any ISO dial will go down to 3. So a way to think about it is maybe put it to ISO 25 if it can do that, and then open up 3 or 4 more stops. Or use a handheld light meter, either an original handheld light meter or one that comes through your phone and uses the light sensitivity of the phone to be able to do that. So that's the first thing to say. It's highly unlikely you won't need a tripod or something to brace it with, unless you're in a studio with super bright lights that will allow you to shoot at handheld 1/30th or 1/60th of a second. Now that all sounds quite scary. It's not scary at all. Of course, it just requires a bit of technical understanding. So this is a brilliant film to really test your understanding of manual settings and light exposure, but it's really not intimidating. If you run into any problems as well, you can always pop us a message through our app. There's a little way you can talk to us directly through there, or the live chat through the website, or drop us an email, whatever you want to do. Please don't be put off by this, because this is really fun film which gives really interesting results. So we've talked about the low ISO, now let's talk about the Blue Ultra. Now the first thing I'll do is I'll just actually hold it up. It might be tricky to see, but you can actually see through this emulsion. You might be able to see my finger moving behind it. It's a very thin emulsion. It's designed to be a copy film or copying colour movie film. We've talked about copy film before, but more on black and white side. So the reason it is such low ISO is because it is designed to be super high detail, and it will be laid out alongside a negative of a movie that has been shot. Super bright light is shone through to expose it, it's developed, and then it is a copy of that original film. So that's where it comes from. Now it does have some rather strange colour effects though. So it is Blue Ultra, so you will get really strong blue or violet hues through your photo, but reds will also pop really brightly. You're unlikely to see much yellow. Now there are people who have tried, Photoblog has tried to add a yellow filter and they got some yellow through, but then that also meant they lost a couple more stops of light, which when you're already ISO 3, you do not have that much to lose. So for me personally, I would just embrace the fact it's going to be blue, it's going to be violet, it's going to have these gorgeous red pops, and just sort of see where it takes you from there. Because it was designed for this sort of physical copy on quite a large scale, even though it is a thin film with thin backing, it does have a couple of anti-scratch layers, it has anti-static layers, it doesn't have anti-halation. So if you're familiar with the sort of the cinestill look, the halo of light around bright light sources, this will still give you that, although of course ISO 3 versus ISO 800, it's less likely to pick it up. And you know, that halation is light that's bounced back inside the camera, so it will be a lot dimmer very quickly, and ISO 3 you won't pick up that much. So don't expect a huge amount of it, but you might be lucky enough if you're pointing particularly bright light, the particularly shiny inside camera. I don't know which cameras halate the most, but you might pick up a little bit of that. In terms of subjects to shoot, I would say go with whatever you're comfortable shooting at such low ISO. You could embrace the sort of the Victorian approach and try and do portraits where you're asking people to sit very still and not move a muscle, not smile, because smiling can move for sort of half a minute. Or you could point it at still lifes, go out into nature, do some landscapes, things like that. But really take it as the opportunity to enjoy experimenting with low ISO, therefore long shutter speeds, and having a lot of fun with that. Of course, the other thing that will help with a manual camera with low ISO is opening the aperture really wide. You'll then get a really strong depth of field. So again, sort of embrace it, either by doing, I think for me, some still lifes are really fun to get nice front to back depth. And also you can set that up in your house with a light. And by light, I either mean a studio light or just a bedside lamp can give quite lovely directional light. So it could just be a chance to do a bit of a study of light in your house with a really, really unusual film. And then of course the final thing to say is when you are developing it with a lab, if you develop it with a lab, then please do make sure that they know that it is Blue Ultra. I mean, it'll come with a canister, but make sure they know what that should look like. Of course, our lab is very aware and would always colour balance it to know what it is. But the risk is if you use a lab who isn't familiar with a film like this, they might force the colours to try and be more natural. But because the film is fundamentally not picking them up in the same way, that will make it look quite false. It's sort of the same as when you talk about the double film or Revolog effect films that have colour shifts baked into the emulsion. As soon as you try and force them to natural, it looks very false, very fake, and you lose a lot of the fun and the detail in the first place. So please do make sure, whichever lab you use, that you let them know what it should look like and don't worry about trying to colour correct the Blue Ultra out of it, because that is all part of the fun. Thank you so much for joining me again. If you have any questions or thoughts, drop them below, or as I say, ping us through the website or app. Myself, Emma, Hannah, we're all around. We're all excited to see what you do. So don't be intimidated by the difficulty, but embrace the creative challenge. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you again soon.